Hello and welcome to episode 217 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. This is the show, the podcast that specifically covers FC Cincinnati and the Cincinnati soccer scene. So for those of you tuning in for the first time, I'm your host, Brian Weigel, and we're about to have another great show together. I want to bring in my great cast and crew of characters for this fine evening. I always start off first and foremost with my right-hand man, Clay Winstead. How you doing, pal?
Doing great. Glad to be here. Happy that we have another soccer game to talk about. Crazy, right?
You know, it's kind of weird. I'm not used to winning games. You know, that sounds like a year 2018 thing for us. So glad to have my right-hand man back there with Clay. So now on to the co-host of Cincinnati Soccer Talk's March to Match Day podcast. I don't know why we brought him over here. Must have been a lack of interest on our other co-host, Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle. How you doing?
What's happening, Brian? Glad everyone's tuning in tonight. I know why you brought me in. Here at CST, we review our what we're doing. We review our articles, our shows, see what people are listening to, what they're viewing. We have to sometimes cut the fat. And I was honored when you and Subes asked me to join. But I've kind of figured out what's going on. Now that I think about it, you guys are trying to save your own show. Boost the ratings. So I'm glad to come over here and help you. I don't know if you're going to make the cut. You know, I think coaches might be ahead of you guys now. So
you going to take that, Brian? You're just going to take that?
I can go in the back end of our website and our podcast and see the ratings, so it doesn't faze me at all. It's okay. I do love you, Boston. Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle. You taking any PTO lately?
No. Got my vacations canceled. Thank you, COVID. So trying to figure out backup options currently.
Dude, I feel you, dog. We were going to try to take a cruise together this fall, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. But oh well, we'll get to hopefully watch more FC Cincinnati this fall, though. We'll see. But now for the guy with as much momentum and swagger as Jaap Stam, Michael Lahoud. How you doing, pal?
Hey guys, thanks for having me in again. I'm doing well, staying refreshed with some no free ads, so I'm not going to give the company name away, but I will say sparkling water.
Ooh.
So staying refreshed.
Hey, we're all for free ads, and if there's a company that wants to sponsor, we'd love to have it. I mean, Clay said he tattooed on his forehead, so you never know.
I would.
Well,
no laws when you're drinking claws, just right up here.
Very cool. Well, we are very excited to have you all in this evening. Guys, if you are listening on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, please feel free to call in tonight. We are taking phone calls on the Cincinnati Soccer Talk hotline at 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. So please feel free to call in if you have any questions. Love to talk to you or hear your thoughts about this past week's matches. So kind of our agenda for tonight is we're going to review the New York Red Bulls match, the 2-0 victory from FC Cincinnati. Then we'll jump into our debate segment about the match, what we can improve on, differences, what we liked, what we didn't like. And then we will actually welcome in Grant Little from Stumptown Footy, a SB Nation blog website that covers the Portland Timbers, to discuss the match Tuesday night. We'll also, after that, give our takes on the Portland game, what we're looking for, as well as some predictions, who we might see, who we might not see. And then we'll wrap it up with some miscellaneous topics about MLS is back, perhaps another phone call for a FC Cincinnati superfan, and then your listener questions for Nicky Soup and Sausage behind the glass, Nick Superling. Heck, if you just want to talk to him, call 513-399-KICK. So, guys, now, I'm just going to ask you right off the bat. We're trying new things here. Michael, could you believe this FC Cincinnati club won 2 matches in a row?
Yeah, of course I can. Of course. Well, I think it surprised us all, the fashion in which they did it and how quickly the team bought in and has bought in. As a fan, as a former player, that's the type of discipline, that's the type of team performance that we want to see out of this club. And I hope it's just the start of something really, really impressive and things to come. Hopefully the goals keep coming, but I was really impressed with the commitment level from the.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Michael. The commitment, and you could hear it even at the Extra Time Radio interview with Kendall Waston this past week. He just talked about how they all fought for each other. They all, tried especially hard, and he was referencing a lot of the public's comments about luck and how it's luck might play a little bit of a factor, but the guys playing hard, got him to that point and put him in those situations. So kind of what you're talking about with how they set up, they kind of got into that. We've heard is a 3-5-2. I like to look at it as a 5-3-2, kind of a bunkering, sitting in that final third. They went with that formation again, a little bit more severe this time versus New York Red Bulls, and they played very well. Of course, they were outpossessed by New York Red Bulls, but thanks to a great opportunistic shot by Yuya Kubo in the 43rd minute, they took a 1-0 lead. That all started with a great slide tackle by Andrew Gutman, keeping the ball in play, worked the ball around. Gutman got the ball back again and looked to loft a ball across, on a diagonal ball to Adrian Regatin. The pass did end up a little bit short, but since of Regatin's run, the center back, Amro Tarek, was kind of trying to have to mark two guys with Kubo, and he wasn't able to complete his tracking run to Regatin, and then fluffed the ball to Kubo. Kubo got the ball and took a nice shot from distance and get the ball, get the FC Cincinnati to 1-0. Of course, in the second half, things went off pretty good early on. With a corner kick in the 56th minute for Harris Madunanen, a left-footed service with pace, perfectly placed at the in the 6-yard box, the top of the 6-yard box, with Florian Velo. Florian Velo that we all at FC Cincinnati Soccer Talk would love to see as a member of the Orange and Blue. He misheaded it past David Jensen, leading to the 2-0 scoreline, which was the final of the game. Of course, got to say, Przemysław Titon had a couple great saves after the 81st minute, and I believe the 86th and 87th minutes, and just did a heck of a job to ice the game for FC Cincinnati. So pretty stoked about that. I'm going to ask for your guys' thumbs up. I'm going to head it over to you, Clay. What did you think was the positive takeaway from the match?
It's going to be the exact same takeaway I had from the last match. We kept a clean sheet. I know it's not the most exciting. We're not building out of the back. It's not Dutch total football. But the thing that we all were lamenting most of last year and the first game against Columbus is, God, we keep giving up possession. We're always out of position. We're giving up these easy goals. One goal becomes 4 before we know it, and then we're losing. And then Jaap Stam, within 2 weeks, was like, shape up. And they did. We got 2 clean sheets in a row. It's not just 2 wins. We haven't let up a goal since Columbus. That is incredible progress. I think it's super early in his career, so I'm not too worried about the offense yet. We're still missing a lot of key parts. But just to be able to sit in against these teams, particularly Red Bulls, who do not like to possess, made them hold the ball and just took away all their options. I think they had 51 crosses, very few good chances until the last 10 minutes. Just a great defensive performance once again. It was really, I know it's not the most fun to watch, but the progress was great.
They were frustrated, weren't they? I mean, you could see it on the players' faces, how they were reacting. I think that's really been the key for FC Cincinnati the last 2 matches. They made Atlanta so mad with the way we were playing, to the point where you start seeing fouls and yellow cards and then that red card, which really turned the game, I think, in FC Cincinnati's favor. This last week, I saw the same thing. No red card, but the Red Bulls were just frustrated. They do not want to play that way. They want to be the counter team. They want, how they have beaten FC Cincinnati every single time they have ever played, and it's because we will rush down the field with the ball. They grab it, flip it around, score, and they could not do that. FC Cincinnati refused to go forward. They would kick the ball down the field, played the long ball. Oh, man, you could just see how much New York hated it. It was perfect frustration game.
Michael, what was your positive takeaway?
I took a lot of positives from this match. I think the easy way to view it is to say we sat back and just countered. But 2 guys in particular, I'd say 3, that really impressed me this match. Andrew Gutman, his just the effort, that first goal, incredible. He kickstarted that play. his sheer determination. And I thought the front two, I thought Kubo took his goal really well. I thought their willingness and their selflessness to work for the team was tremendous. And Ragaton, he just makes things happen out of nothing. He did a great job of stretching the Red Bull back line, and I think he really put Tarek in a place to make mistakes, and it was only a matter of time. And he coughed up the ball, and we capitalized 1-0, and the game changes. So I was really impressed, knowing that the pragmatism is the way forward with such little time to prepare. I thought the players stepped up and performed well.
Now, the one thing I really like, and Michael, you might be able to speak to this a little bit since you've been on the field. In this style of formation and this tactical approach, people call it parking the bus in some instances. Having the guys like a Kubo and a Regaton, and having their high soccer IQ, you can trust those guys to get out there and, while they might not be able to create 15, 20 chances, the several chances that they get, and the importance of that IQ is to get them in those good spots to at least be able to capitalize on, 3 or 5 opportunities that they're able to create in those tough, I guess the lack of numbers, throwing in the attack.
In big games, big players step up and win you big games, and that was a massive game. There's group of players, and it was a massive game. Last show we talked about, will this be another version of the FC Cincinnati that people throughout the league have known, and us as fans we've known, or will this be a different version of FC Cincinnati and a turning point for this club? And you, as a group of players, when you're on the field, you look around and you say, all right, who's going to step up and win this game? And those two guys raised their hands with their work ethic, and Kubo stepped up. And this is why you pay your strikers the big bucks, or you can pay me the big bucks, and I'll go do this. I'll probably kick it over the goal, but you pay someone the big bucks. But I was really impressed. I think one thing that really
I think I caught out there a little bit. We will come back to that topic from Michael real quick. I would say, I hate going from something impressive to something that maybe not has been impressive or maybe worries you. Oh, I think he's there a little bit now. All right. So I'm going to go back to Clay. All right, Clay, I'm going to go with you and ask, what is something that you think that you could take away from this game that we might need to improve going into Portland this weekend?
I think I don't know if it's necessarily, wow, that was a great way to start the sentence. Our wide players in particular, I think, need to, not only just in defense, but going forward, because what I noticed a lot, unfortunately, Portland is my quote unquote second team in MLS. So I've actually spent a lot of time watching them as a semi-fan myself. One thing that LAFC, I think, put on blast, and we'll probably talk more about this later in the show, is how committed their fullbacks get into the attack. So if we can, that's something that I'm looking forward, something that if we can really improve on, if we can get Joe Zhao or Andrew Gutman or Mane, whoever it might be, if Kubo goes back out wide, whatever it is, those players need to really take advantage of that space in between the lines that those fullbacks create. So if we can take advantage of those open spaces on a counter, that's what I think we need to be a little more incisive about. I think is finding those opportunities to go forward and really run at it.
Oh, right. How long can we do this? That's I think that's the key question. How long can FC Cincinnati do this to the point where somebody doesn't score on them first? Here's your first really, really big test. You're in the round of 16. A lot of these teams that are here deserve to be here. Portland is one of those teams. They are good. They won their group. They did so with the draw versus LAFC right at the end. There's no bones about it. I think if FC Cincinnati does the bunker and try to score on the counter first against Portland, then they're going to need amazing work from Teton. They're going to need amazing work from that defensive back line, and just hold on. And if you don't get the job done, at least you have PKs, right? But that's where I see FC Cincinnati. Can we keep doing this?
What is something that you think we're going to need? We did a lot of good, Michael. We did a lot of good in this match. going forward, whether it's maybe adding personnel or changing it up, how is this club going to need to improve or adapt to be successful, to continue past Portland? Oop, I think I froze up again. Danny, you guys want to take that?
Repeat the question.
Well, so I would say, one thing that we need to do to keep improving upon and get past Portland, and this is something that I had circled back, is that in this 5-3-2, it becomes more difficult to play, especially in this setting. I view it as such, and you guys might disagree with me. I view it's going to be more difficult to keep this up because not the fact that we're playing better teams, which will be key. We'll be playing better forwards, better creative midfielders, is that those teams will have more time together, more familiarity together, and we'll be able to, pass the ball better. Get to know how their teammates' runs are going to be able to, take shape, and that's how they're going to be able to pick us apart with our defensive shape.
Well, I think Portland in particular plays kind of similarly to what we see at Red Bulls. They have a defensive destroyer like Chara, but their whole idea is that they're going to take the ball off you, they're going to press you, and then they're going to find the open space behind you with a Bobasi or Blanco and get it behind you and score. And a Bobasi's really good at it, and Valeri can give some really great service. But they're not used to sitting on the ball and possessing it tiki-taka. That's not their game.
Mm-hmm.
So Boston talked about this earlier. If we can frustrate them, if we force them to make 50-plus crosses that game, and that's all they can do, I trust Waston on a header against Jeremy Ebobisse 9 times out of 10. So if that's the best offense we can force them at, we have a good chance. And so I think the game plan works. I know that may sound like murder to some people's ears. Like I have to watch another 90 minutes of 30% possession, just watching Portland chuck the ball into our box the whole time. But that game plan could be very frustrating for them. And it's not a game they like to play. So I don't actually think it's that big for this particular matchup. I think that idea works, at least on paper.
Michael, I think we got you back here. Go ahead. So I think
keep going.
So we're just trying to figure out is this going to be more difficult for as FC Cincinnati go on to be able to play this type of style and to be able to keep seeing through matches. I mean, is what we were talking about earlier is you have to have different ways to beat this 5-3-2. You can't just cross it in all the time. What are these teams going to absolutely have to do every time to break this down?
Something that I think the team can continue to improve on is their possession. I think growing into games, it's a chess match. When you get into a knockout round, it is always a chess match. Getting out of the group was monumental, especially starting off with a 4-0 defeat. And now, for FC Cincinnati, every different game is going to propose different, one-on-one battles. I think, Clay, you said it best about the flanks. Portland pushed both outside backs really far up the field, and there's so much space to expose them on the counter. The one thing FC Cincinnati has up top is pace, whether you put Vasquez up top or Regaton up top. And I think with Joe Zhao, this is a game for Joe Zhao to really exploit, Portland on the counter. Where the goals will come from, it'll be a very timely decision, whether it's Frankie or Joe Zhao or someone to make that willing extra run to get on the end of a cross or just take that risk. But I think this game is going to be down to a chess match. And the longer FC Cincinnati can stay in the game, I think when you bring the likes of Sim de Jong in and Vasquez, or, maybe this will be the abracadabra version of Alan Cruz. Maybe we'll actually see him play this game. Still waiting, coach. But, the longer the game goes 0-0, the more it's in favor of FC Cincinnati. And if you're Yap Stem, you drill that into the guys. The longer the game goes 0-0, do the work, and we'll reward ourselves with someone coming in to step up.
As a former player, Michael, when you're in a situation where you have to defend like this and sit and get attacked the whole time, a lot of FC Cincinnati fans have been very upset that Jobstam hasn't substituted earlier. Has it been easier for you, to say, okay, I'm 80 minutes in, I'd rather play with the guy that's been there with me the whole time, or would you like the fresh legs? Now knowing that we still, each of these teams gets the water breaks and everything.
That is on my list of negatives from the last game. I think you're playing with fire when you're telling your team that we're going to be pragmatic and we're going to defend for each other. We are going to work our socks off. You need fresh legs, and you're playing with fire if you keep on bringing, especially for midfielders, if you keep on bringing midfielders in the 88th, 87th, 85th minute. I think in the Red Bull game, something that could have cost the team was momentum. That water break, the 75th minute, the team came out flat. Red Bulls made, it felt like they made 22 changes with the momentum that shifted. And as a manager, substitutions are ways to kill the other team's momentums. So in this game, with how Portland transitions very quickly with the weapons they have, it's not going to be enough to just have the group sit back and have those guys with tired legs run and run. Mind you, this will be the third game playing this way. So I hope, dear God, I hope that we don't wait till the 88th minute to make a sub. Coach, I know you're listening. Make a sub earlier.
Now, I do want to applaud Kendall Waston and his leadership that he's shown. He's looked like a completely different player, Boston, with those to you. What do you make of his approach and just the mentality? I mean, you heard him on Extra Time Radio. You heard him, picking up his players and giving Frankie crap on Twitter. Love it. What do you think about his presence and his emotions that really have carried this team over these past couple matches?
Kendall Waston's making me eat crow. I was harping on him and on Teton. I thought it was stupid to waste an international spot on a goalkeeper. I thought Spencer Ritchie was our guy. No one could do the job better than him. And then, of course, Teton shows up, has had a fantastic 2 games, saved our butts versus the Red Bulls in the last 10 minutes. And Kendall Waston just commanding that whole backfield. And I really think he's taken that captain role on full force this year. I honestly, I know this isn't the question, but I owe the guy an apology. after months of harping on Kendall Waston and how he shouldn't be the captain anymore, made me eat crow, man.
I do think the change of system has benefited him almost more than anybody else. I think before, when we're trying to play that positive possession, play out of the back style, oftentimes with FC Cincinnati, it was like watching what Berhalter's doing at the United States. It's like, you don't have the center backs to do that. Why are you making them play against their strengths? And now what you're basically telling Kendall to do now is, hey, you have your zone in these back 3. Your job is to make sure no one gets that ball. You're going to head it out of there. You're going to take the ball off somebody. You're going to be that central destroyer. Before, he was asked to do so much. He was asked to follow out onto the wings and cover the fullback. He was asked to pass the ball up the middle. And he was just not playing his game. And now what he can do is be a leader, take care of his man, his spot, and it worked out. And you have Deplon, and I guess now it'd be Pedersen until Van der Vaart comes back. But you have these more mobile, agile center backs on the flanks of him that can cover for those few deficiencies in his game. So I think if anyone's benefited from the 5-3-2 defensive setup, it's been our captain.
All right, we are going to go to the phones now on the Cincinnati Soccer Talk hotline. Phones are open at 513-399-KICK if you'd like to call in. We'd like to welcome into the show Brad. Brad, you have a question for us?
I do. Well, I have a question, and I would also just like to humbly speak to Michael Lahoud. He was a huge part of our record-breaking 2018 USL season. It is an absolute honor to have him here on the CST team. I love you, man. It's unreal that I can actually talk to you in person. But here's my question, and I'm sure that's what you guys are dying for. So we know that our first encounter with the Timbers was the resounding 3-0 rout at home. Do you think any of that momentum carries into the knockout rounds down in Orlando? And if not, because I'm sure the answer is no, what do you think is going to be the difference against this Blanco-led offense? Thank you, guys.
Michael,
Lahoud, I love you so much. I can't believe I'm talking to you.
Michael, I'm going to put you on the
Thank
spot. You can take that one.
Momentum is everything, and yet it's also nothing. When you get into the knockout round, you are playing it's all who has just the better day. This reminds me of an Open Cup format where you survive in advance when you get to this round, and you take tactics, you take setup, but it is all about winning plays. FC Cincinnati has gotten to this point because of winning plays. And I don't know if you guys have seen the ESPN 30 for 30 winning time with Reggie Miller.
Mm-hmm.
There comes a time, especially in knockout tournaments, when someone is going to have to make a play defensively and someone's going to have to make a play offensively. And whether it's the goalkeeper or the back three or the midfielders stopping a counterattack or a striker or whoever comes up with the goal, I think the game is going to come down to that. From a defensive standpoint, Portland throws a lot of numbers forward. And they interchange. 1 second, Diego Valeri is dropping back to pick up the ball next to Chara. The next second, he's playing as a false nine. Abobasi floats to the wings. But the guy that I think you nailed is Sebastian Blanco. I think he has 1 goal and 2 assists in 3 games. Abobasi has 3 goals, but I think the new main man of Portland Timbers has been Sebastian Blanco. He's dangerous. He makes deep lying runs, and he's someone to keep an eye on. Abobasi's the hot hand, but Abobasi doesn't create without service. Lastly, a big thing that Portland loves to do is when they get to the end line or get to the byline, they love to drag it back to the top of the box for Valeri or someone for an easy finish. So if FC Cincinnati continues to condense the space between the back 3 and the midfield 3, that will bode well to keep the team in the match. And then the counterattack. You live and die by the counter. So, if all 99 things I just said, come to fruition, then we'll beat them 6-0.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing to think about when we beat them 3-0, they didn't have Chara. They didn't have either Chara, right? So, this is tougher. I just want to make that known. If FC Cincinnati walks away tomorrow with the win, it was tougher than when they showed up at our house injured. They're not injured this time, so just put that on there. I think it's a little tougher than last time they played as an away team across the coast.
Yep. Well, I'm going to put a bow on this talk right now about the New York Red Bulls in the group stage. Basically, just saying, man, FC Cincinnati. I know we love, free flowing, expressive based football, and we didn't get it, but I'd rather have those 6 points in the bank, and that was a great feeling. I'd rather watch us win matches, and this is the difference from coach. I'd rather watch us win matches and be happy versus losing matches, 3-1 or whatever. So, very happy about that, and props to the leadership on the field with the players, as well as to Jaap Stam. I think you've made a great impact in your first 3 matches. So real quick, it's that time of the show where we give a big shout out and thanks to all of our tremendous supporters. Would like to thank Tim Bronsel, Tom Rose, Matt Adamczyk, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Emholt, Matthew Long, congrats to you, Matthew, for your tickets, as well as Villa staying up, Joe Coling, and Tara Mullins. Thank you guys so much for your support, and to learn more on how you can support CST, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Your support allows us to add new aspects to our show offerings. Clay's beautiful new HD camera. You'll see some brand
Boston,
new.
a pay raise.
Yeah, right. You should pay us for being on here, Boston. Got a lot of new stuff from Michael coming out his way. Darn Amazon needs to meet the delivery times. But no, seriously, all thank you very much for your support, and we very much look forward to continuing to put out as many shows as we can going into this fall. So we'll see how that goes. So we do have another caller on the line, a special guest for this episode. We have Grant Little from Stumptown Footy, a SB Nation website that covers the Portland Timbers as well as the great Portland Thorns NWSL outfit in Orlando. So, Grant, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, I'll be really good Tuesday night if we can last versus you guys.
No
that's
pressure.
What we're here to talk about, right?
That's right. We've interviewed a competent New York Red Bulls host from Sports Nation. We've interviewed a competent Atlanta United host. Just want to warn you. I just want to warn you. There's a pitfall there.
Jeez, you are setting that was like mean almost, Boston. My Lord. No, I'm very, very excited to have you, Grant. Real quick, give us a little bit of background on what you do for Stumptown Footy as well as Stumptown Footy.
All right, yeah. So Stumptown Footy is the SB Nation blog site for the Thorns and the Timbers. And what I do, I'm a contributing writer for them. I spent a lot of time writing about the Portland Thorns, and I also write about the Timbers as well.
Awesome. Well, we're very excited to have you guys here and to talk a little bit about this match. And real quick, we'll talk about the tournament. But, everybody in FC Cincinnati land remembers that 2019 match at Nippert Stadium where we won 3-0. Of course, you guys finished 6th place in the West. What's changed with that club last year and then going into this season?
I think you talked about it a little bit. The health, obviously, is a huge difference. Right now, Sebastian Blanco and Jeremy Abobasi are playing super well. Sebastian Blanco has 3 assists in 3 games and a goal, and Abobasi's got 3 straight goals. I think that the team has gotten really healthy, and they've really gotten behind Savarese, and they're playing well. And when you can get Valeri and Blanco on the ball, good things are going to happen.
I watched your game versus LAFC, and you guys scored real fast. I thought, man, Portland is just going to obliterate them here. Then all of a sudden, it's 2-1, and of course, we're watching with interest because we're going to play either one of you depending on how the score goes. Portland comes back and wins. You guys had a great group. How did you really take out or win group? It was F, right?
Yeah, I think that. We drew in that last game against LAFC because all we needed was a point.
Yeah.
We got that late goal from Abobasi, but I think that the team's been set up really well. They've possessed the ball really well, but they've also defended well. I mean, I think in the first 2 games they limited them to 4 shots on target, and one of those was a penalty in each game. And then against LAFC, they only allowed 3 shots on target, which LAFC had scored 6 goals against the Galaxy and 3 goals against Houston. So the ability for them, we didn't have as much possession in that game, but the ability to keep LAFC from having those good goal scoring opportunities was something that was extremely impressive to me.
So Grant, this is Clay here. I'm curious. It doesn't look like Cincinnati is going to give you a lot of those counterattacking opportunities. It looks like that Portland's going to have the ball in their feet a lot. A possession percentage, I'm sure, is going to flip for you. Who should FC Cincinnati fans be scared of in that situation, or who needs to step up to succeed in that environment?
So for the Portland Timbers, I think that the big people are going to be Valeri and Blanco. They're the people that can unlock a defense. They're those Argentine typical number 10s that can get the ball to Abobasi, and they can really work in small spaces. I don't know if you guys saw the goal that Blanco scored. He danced along the touchline and fired it in. He doesn't need much space to be effective, and I think that that's going to really be needed in a game where FC Cincy is going to sit back, defend well like they did against Atlanta and New York, and try and hit them on the counter attack.
I just wanted to chime in with a question. A guy that you guys know well out in Portland, one of my former coaches, Giovanni Savarese. How do you think the team has taken shape underneath Gio as he's settling in his own as the coach of the Portland Timbers?
Oh, absolutely. I think that he was extremely successful right from the start. He's been with the club before, I mean, in a playing capacity, I believe, and he he led the team to 2 playoffs in their first 2 seasons, and that was the first time a coach had ever done that in MLS history, I believe. So I think he's got them really in a good shape, and I think they know their identity, but they're also able to adapt like they did in the LAFC game, where they didn't have the possession that they were used to having in the first 2 games.
So with Gio Savarese, he actually almost did like a line change in this last match versus LAFC. Quite a bit of substitutions. Quite a bit of changes in the starting lineup. He had Nish Goda starting over Bobasi. It seems like there's just a ton of weapons for them to really capitalize on, the matchups, or as well as even if they, somehow go down and need to take advantage of that 5 sub rule.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the number was 7 changes that they made for the LAFC game, and the fact that they were able to defend that well and perform that well in a 2-2 draw with one of the best teams in the league while making 7 substitutions is something that is really going to be important, especially if they're going to make a deep run in this tournament setting where there's not a lot of rest. I think that obviously you saw a huge difference when Abobasi, Valeri, and Williamson came on around the 66-minute mark, I think it was. But I was pretty impressed with how the subs came in and they were able to still perform relatively well.
So, what do you think they specifically need to do to come out on top over FC Cincinnati in this match?
So I think that they're going to need to really put Cincinnati under pressure, pin them back, get the ball to Valeri and Blanco, but they need to be really wary of getting too many bodies forward. I think that Cincinnati could really take advantage and hit them on the counterattack if they're able to play out of the pressure quickly and get behind presumably Williamson and Chara and have Amaya and Kubo running at the center backs. I think that's where we could be vulnerable. But I think that they need to be good on the ball. They need to have tight, clean passing because they're going to have to break down a really organized Cincinnati team.
Normally, we would have you on our March to Match Day podcast. With the short turnaround this week, it's tough to fit it all in, so we appreciate you coming on this show. One of the big staples of that, we like to have our guest give us their prediction for how the show's going to, how the game's going to go. Portland versus FC Cincinnati. Who's walking away with the win here? And there's no tie, so I'm taking it off the table.
All right, I'm going to go with a 3-1 Portland win. I think that it's going to take a long time for Portland to break them down, but when they do, I think that a couple goals might come because LAFC and Portland are the only 2 teams that have scored multiple goals in all of their matches, so I think that Portland's going to continue doing that and sadly end the run of FC Cincinnati, but we'll see.
We're playing with house money here, Grant, so it's completely okay. Playing with house money. No, we enjoy it.
I'm a big fan of FC Cincinnati. I think it's a great city, a great soccer environment. I've been to U.S. Women's National Team, the U.S. Men's National Team, and FC Cincinnati games at Nippert. So I'm really happy that you guys were able to defy the odds and get out of the group, and I'm hoping for a good match.
Okay. Well, so we do have, an FC Cincinnati legend, Michael Lahoud, with us tonight. I think he has some thoughts on your prediction there.
Hey, Grant. Thanks for calling. I'm going to take the house money, and I'm going to double down and say 6-0 FC Cincinnati. No, I'm kidding. I was actually, if I'd be drinking some of the pale ale that I still have from Portland from last fall, that probably would have been my prediction. But no, I think it's going to be, it's going to be very tight for Portland to break FC Cincinnati down. Like I said, the longer the game goes 0-0. The greater chance FC Cincinnati has. I can see it going into extra time or penalties. I think 1-1, and I say Cincinnati wins on penalty kicks. And, it's the cardiac Queen City kids, man. Never a dull moment in the Queen City. So I'm saying 1-1, Cincy winning on penalty kicks. And I will be drinking no extra time. Whoops. Well, penalty kicks it is, and I will be busting out my pale ale from Portland to celebrate.
There you go. No, yeah, no penalty kicks, just 90 minutes. But that's the key. I think FC Cincinnati. I think there's no. I mean, Grant, we're not foolish here. We know there's no messing around pretending FC Cincinnati is winning this 1-2-3-0. I think it is. Can FC Cincinnati hold on for 90 minutes? If your prediction's wrong and they end up in penalty kicks, what can we expect? What's Portland got behind the sticks?
Well, I mean, you've got Steve Clark, who has faced 2 penalties, and he's let one in, and he's stopped Chicharritos. So I know that you can't really project out the 50% save percentage that he's had, but if he could pull off 1 or 2 penalty saves, I think that's usually enough to win a shootout. So hopefully the Timbers can put away their penalties.
Yeah, to clear things up too, there is no extra time, but there will be straight penalties after 90 minutes. And I will say, I am definitely a little scared of Steve Clark. Penalties are usually on the striker to avoid, not missing necessarily, but he's definitely really scary. I think that'd probably be the most terrifying thing that could happen in this game. I'd rather take a shellacking to Portland than have to see my heart rate go up for a penalty shootout. That would terrify me.
Ignore that.
MLS would love a shootout. I think in this case they would love it.
Oh yeah, they would. As a neutral, it's fantastic. As a fan, I'm gonna have a stroke.
Oh, you're terrible, Clay. Well, Grant, we really do appreciate you coming on, and we hope to talk a little bit more with you at some point about Portland. Can you give us a quick hit on where our listeners can find and read your stories, your website, your Twitter feed? I don't know if you're too lively on social media, but give us where we can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I write for Stumptown Footy, who has their own SB Nation Twitter page, but I'm also on Twitter at GrantLittle09. And like I said, I write about the Timbers and the Thorns. And I'm actually co-launching a podcast about Real Madrid Femenino with the Managing Madrid community as well in the coming days, I believe. So we're pretty excited about that.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'll make sure to share your information, and we definitely appreciate you taking your time to call in, and can hopefully get to read your story about a Portland loss. But no, we definitely appreciate your time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right, man. Thank you very much for your time. That was Grant Little on Stumptown Footy SB Nation blog. We really do. We give them a lot of crap, but they are a really great, actually friend of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We've corresponded with several writers over there over the course of coming into Major League Soccer, before Major League Soccer. We had talked to them when Fernando Adi joined Cincinnati Soccer Talk. So they're a great site, and we definitely encourage you guys to check them out. And thank you very much, Grant, for joining us this evening. All right, guys. So this is when we kind of touch on this preview a little bit, and I want to kind of hear you can rehash what you discussed earlier, but I each want from you guys one thing that you want to see, as maybe a goal. Coach talked in Talking Tactics. We don't, maybe not necessarily you need to have a shutout, but can you give us 50 minutes of X or whatever Y? Give us something that you'd like to see as a measurable that shows improvement for FC Cincinnati. I'm actually going to start with you, Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle, to put you on the spot there, pal.
Well, in the event, because I think that at some point in this tournament, let's say FC Cincinnati even survives and they have to play 1 to 2 more games, at some point they're going to be scored on. How will they react when they are scored on first? Especially, at that point you have to abandon the 5-man back line and move forward. And so Locadia obviously would help that. Cruz would help that. What will Stom do? Will he finally bust those substitutes out, throw offensive players in, and all of a sudden see an FC Cincinnati attack shift? That's a big question for me. I kind of want to see how long can we do the defense thing. Yes, that's awesome. If we can go 0-0 and make it to penalties, I'll take it right now. I'll sign me up. But if we get scored on first, how will we react? That's the key to the match for me.
Okay, Michael? What is the one thing you want to see as a measurable for FC Cincinnati improving?
I would love to see just the commitment to throw more people into the attack. Who is willing to make the lung buster and run forward to take a risk, and who's willing to.
I think he went out here. I'm going to throw it to Clay Winstead. What do you have?
Yeah. So I think Michael was kind of going on about it for a bit. I mentioned it earlier too. I think it is great to see. It'll be really great to see if we could take advantage of those spaces that the Portland defense can leave when they commit forward. But on the opposite end, I think we're kind of assuming now that the defense is going to hold in a sense. We're looking at other stuff, and I think that is important. For me, can we eliminate their ability for Valeria and Blanco to find those runs in behind us? Can our defense hold that shape? Can we force them to give their fullbacks just cross after cross after cross? Because it's so statistically unlikely to get a goal from that opportunity. Can we frustrate their offense like we have? Because they're a better offense than we've seen. They have all the pieces that Atlanta doesn't, and they have higher quality players on the attack than Red Bulls do. So can we frustrate them like we did those other teams? If we can keep that forward, I think we have a good chance to maybe get that 0-0 draw into penalties like Boston said, or maybe, pull ahead with a win.
FCC, the Angry Birds.
The one thing I want to see out of FC Cincinnati is just more creativity in chances. What I mean by that is, I don't want to say any of our goals were really fluky. I know Frankie had a great turn and a great left-footed shot, but the Kuba and Regaton goal, I think that was good. How their positioning forced the center back into making a mistake, and that led to a great goal. And then the scouting tactic by I want to say Said Bakati, because he's the free kick specialist, what we keep hearing about on the corner kick from Harris Budunin. I just want to see maybe some build-up, and that leads to a couple really good chances, and maybe that comes in with Jurgen Locadia coming in with 15-20 minutes to go. We'll see what happens. Sem de Jong, any of those guys. I just want to see a little bit more coming out of those people to just again that little barometer that how Gerard Nike said, let's keep improving. We don't need to go from 0 to 40%. 2%, 5%. Let's show incremental improvement. So real quick, we heard from Michael on his 6-0 prediction. Clay, I'm going to ask you for your prediction when we have our Growler Cup predictions coming back, hopefully here later this summer.
I find when I'm too optimistic, I jinx it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be practical here, knowing how good Portland is. As I said, I think they pull off a late minute 2-1 victory.
Boston razzle dazzle brazzle.
Hold on. Clay picked Portland. Is that what I just heard?
I did 2-1 Portland. They're going to win it late, I think.
All right.
I picked Columbus, and so you guys, I've heard enough from that.
Well, I picked a win. I was the only person to pick a win versus Atlanta, and then I picked a draw for New York. That didn't happen. Shoot, I'm gonna have to stay with it. Gonna go with the win because I can't pick a draw. I want to pick a draw, but I can't. So I'm gonna pick a draw 1-1. I'm gonna go with Mike second, and then you know who I want to hear from. I want to hear from Randy. I think Randy's on the phone.
You don't get to throw it over to Randy on the phone. That's my job, mister. I was going to ask Michael if he wanted to, if he still felt confident in that 6-0. You didn't even ask me for mine either. Rude.
No, I don't care about yours.
Oh, jeez. Michael, confident
that's take over your show, Brian. He's over here. He thinks he's the host now.
Oh my God.
No, I've seen the light, and I don't think 6-0 anymore. I was gonna say 4-0, got down to 3. I stand by my actual 1-1 prediction, and I think Portland's attack, there's only so much you can do to stymie it, but I do think FC Cincinnati are going to get their chances, especially in transition, and I think they're going to capitalize. So I think 1-1, and then it is a crapshoot always in penalties, but the Polish gloves that we have in net is going to come up huge, and once you get to penalty kicks, there's all to play for. So 1-1 and advancing.
I agree. I do think 1-1 as well. I think if these two teams get to the, I think there's a chance that Portland throws numbers into attack at some point, and we might be able to nick one. But I do think that 1-1's a fair score line there. And then we don't have Aiden Quinn anymore, so I think our chances in a penalty shootout are pretty good.
Oh man,
So-
that's tough. That's tough right there.
I should buy Aiden.
That was friendly fire, man. We broke Michael with that. You broke Michael.
So I'm a ginger, so I have no soul, so I can get away with those comments. It's okay. All right. So I do have I did ask this gentleman to call in for tonight. He's involved with a great effort to help we'll call him a Cincinnati super fan, a great supporter. So I have a Randy Spalding calling in on the Cincinnati Soccer Hotline. I think he's on vacation. Randy, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Mr. Weigel? Yeah, there's probably cicadas in the background right now, so we're down at a cabin in Asheville, so you might be able to hear that in the background. I apologize if so.
No, we're sorry Brian kept you waiting so long. I tried to bring you in earlier.
Yeah. 0-1 is my prediction, by the way.
Okay, very
Good
cool.
guys, of course.
Well,
of course. Good guys.
I do appreciate you calling in this evening, and I did want to, we had a great story this past week written by Laurel Fowler in the I believe it was with WCPO. I could be wrong, but she wrote a great story about
WCPO. Yeah.
Yes, thank God. About Zidane Tunchi out of Ghana. He's a great Cincinnati super fan, and you are a part of, helping him in helping elevate his situation, but also hoping to maybe bring him over for a game. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what interactions you've had, and how we're going to get him over here for a game?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had seen Laura's story, just like a lot of people, and I actually had then went back to my Facebook and I was like, hey, I recognize that name. I had a friend request from him, and I was like, who's this random guy from Ghana, right? So I realized then that he was, connected to FC Cincinnati. I knew his story. So I had reached out to him, and we just started chatting on Facebook Messenger. And the kid's electric. Like when you first talk to him, he's just so positive, and just in hearing his struggles and everything that he's been through there, he basically works like odd jobs and goes to the supermarket and helps people load groceries into their cars for a couple Ghanese dollars here and there. And what really struck me was, he's got this dream of being a player at FC Cincinnati, or at least coming over to Cincinnati for a visit. But B, he plays for Your Africa Academy. Right now they're out due to COVID, like a lot of things, And he told me one day, I said, what are you eating today? And he was like, oh, I didn't get to eat today because I didn't earn enough money loading groceries for people. And so I was like, dude, like, how are you training as an athlete? Like, how are you going to put yourself above everybody else if you're not even, getting nourishment? So I had just, took it upon myself and said, like, you know what, I'm going to send some funds of my own and see that this kid eats. And he sent me some pictures the next day with this big smile and a big bowl, at breakfast. And we just kind of hit it off. Like I said, you just want to adopt this kid when you see him. But he's the biggest FC Cincinnati fan in Ghana and probably all of Africa. I talked to Mike Lahoud about this. Maybe he's got some insight growing up in Sierra Leone. But, the goal was that the dream for Zidane is to come over and see a match. And so I have taken it upon myself, I was like, well, who better, I guess, just stand up and do it. I might as well try and get something going here. So I just opened a little PayPal account, and it took off because our fan base is amazing, as you know. And, it's like if they want to get behind something, they go all in. So we've raised about $700 so far for Zidane.
Wow.
I've been talking to Laurel and also Stephen Puckeridge, and I know he's able to help possibly work on the visa portion of it. Just looking at costs, it's like probably $1,000 to $2,000 for a flight, a couple $100 for the visa, and then, lodging. We've had fans already come forward and say that they would put them up in their house for the week, and take him to meals. I already warned him that everybody's going to try to feed him this weird Cincinnati style chili.
That's so funny.
That's
So
excellent.
that's where it's at, and I think I even saw Zidane is down in the comments earlier. So just keep in mind, it's like about 2 a.m. I think right now in Ghana, in Kumasi, where he's from. So he is a dedicated young man. He is super positive, just a delight to get to know. And so, I have 2 sons of my own, so it's kind of like the dad in me. I've kind of wanted to just take this boy under my wing and if it's possible to make his dreams come true, what better opportunity than to let our fans help do that.
That's wonderful, and we really appreciate that you took initiative and did that and helped somebody that you've made a relationship with. And that's why I love our club is there's so many great stories about new friendships and just reaching out and meeting new people, and I think this exemplifies what our community club is all about. So real quick, I don't know if you want to, we can post the link in our show notes or in our on our social media, but where can they potentially find a spot to donate right now if they wanted to?
Sure. So I have a personal PayPal account. It's paypal.me/SpauldRS1. That's SPAULDRS and the number 1. I also have a Venmo account. People can find me on Twitter if they want to find that account if they don't have PayPal. But like I said, the goal is, this has kind of started out as hey, I want to, let this kid meet his basic needs so he can train and focus on soccer. And it's become like a bigger story than me and himself. So the goal now is to either, maybe the club will take notice, or we can get somebody else involved with front office or another fan supporter group. Like if anybody else wants to step up and take control, I just want to make sure that we do this responsibly and transparently. And, the goal is that we would keep the funds stateside at this point, maybe give some smaller amounts to Zidane so that he can sustain himself monthly. But the goal ultimately would be to purchase airfare, lodging and whatnot. Obviously, with the COVID restrictions right now, we're kind of limited. So this is something that probably wouldn't happen until at least spring.
Wow. Randy, I remember you.
Yeah.
You're my official on the fight, man. So good to hear from you again, man, live and on the ones and twos. I just want to, start off by saying I'm touched by this. If I didn't have a ring light in my eyes, I'd probably be shedding tears. But I just want to commend you for what you're doing. This just shows the power of what the game is about, and it shows your heart. And please feel free to reach out to me. You already reached out to me, but I'd love to help in any way possible. And
Awesome.
I'd love to offer, even if it's a signed FC Cincinnati jersey from my closet. I love this story, and anything to help people back in Africa where I'm originally from. I have such a heart for that. So thank you so much. I'm touched by this.
I appreciate it. Like I said, if not me, it would have been anybody in our fan base, because we just have that passion for the game and for people. And, ultimately this is what it's all about, right? Is, helping people to love the game and to give back something. And I just, like I said, if you get the opportunity to speak to Zidane, you'll see the same things that I have in him. He's just had a pretty tough life, but he's just, always optimistic and, hardworking, and a little is always enough for him. So it's inspired me, it's given back to me more than probably we've given back to him.
Awesome. Well, Randy, thank you so much. And guys, we will put the notes to the donations page as part of our show and embedded on your podcast network. So go check that out and donate if you can. So Randy, thank you so much. Enjoy your trip down to Nashville.
Thanks so much, guys. You have a nice night.
Awesome. Randy Spaulding, everybody. All right, guys, we are about to wrap up the show. A couple things real quick before we do tune out. FC Cincinnati, should they win versus Portland, will play NYCFC Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. So that is something to tune in to look forward. Hopefully, we will be able to provide you guys some more content for that match. So stay tuned to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We'll have match recaps and all that stuff. We will be doing a watch along starting at about 10:25 Eastern on Tuesday night. So if you want to come onto our Twitter or our Periscope, you can watch us break down the game live. We could try to watch it, just kind of like we're watching a game with friends. We have a couple beers. I get lit up pretty good, and we have a good time. So make fun of Clay a lot now. So make sure to check us out on at Cincy Soccer Talk on Twitter and all that stuff. A couple other notes. I guess I do want to ask Michael. You've been watching a lot of these MLS is back matches so far, and what has, I guess, a couple things that's really impressed you on the tournament, or maybe even certain players.
Oh no.
Oh, looks like we're having some technical difficulties there again. It's all right. We'll get that next week when Michael joins us back, when we have some new technology, some new gadgets for him. So make sure you go check that out, and we'll see if we can get him onto the watch along tomorrow. We'll see what we can play there. So guys, as we wrap up episode 217, okay, looks like we got Michael back. So Michael, you want to give us your thoughts? Let's do it. Do it.
I've been really impressed with the commitment of the guys to make it competitive. It's so easy to, with COVID and you're not playing in front of fans. The teams that have showed up, my hat's off to you. And the teams that decide to not take it seriously.
Oh, man, that's killing me right now. I love it. Michael Lahoud, everybody. He's been a great addition, and we'll make sure we get him the appropriate technology to ensure this relationship going into the future. He's going to probably kick my butt at some point, so I'll just blame Subs. All right, guys, let's
keep competing.
Oh, there it is. All right, we are going to give our final thoughts here at the end of this show. I'm going to throw it over to Clay Winstead first and foremost. My my brother from another mother. How you doing, pal? Give us your final thoughts.
Yeah, I say I'm always the long lost Weigel triplet. No, this is. I never thought we were gonna be talking about another FC Cincinnati match this quickly. So I'm relishing that, enjoying that entire thing. The fact that we're talking about another game is great. I don't know if I had a final thought, and then I listened to Randy's story and him talk on our show, and it kind of took the breath out of my lungs. I think that's just the stuff that I missed the most during our God, who really knows how long the lockdown's going to be anymore. But in our pause from soccer was the people, and I think a story like that just kind of showcases. I think we see a lot of the ugly side of fandom when it's just people like arguing on Twitter about masterclass this or substitutes that. But then you see something like that where it's like, that's what soccer's about. That's what FC Cincinnati fans are about. And that just warmed my heart. And so I want to just take another moment to appreciate what Randy did and what the fans and the money they've raised. And hopefully we can get him into a game in the West End Stadium next spring. That'd be a pretty amazing thing to do. So I hope that works out.
Awesome. All right, I do have Michael back now, so I'm going to throw it to him for whatever final thoughts he wants to have, whether it's MLS or whatever related.
Final thoughts. I'll make it very quick. Okay, final thoughts is just the competitive nature of this tournament. I've been really impressed with the way the players have competed, and it hasn't been the most ideal tournament, the most ideal year, but sports, it shows the power of sports. We see Randy's story, and we see what it means to the fans, and just the power of sports. And I hope that the tournament keeps rewarding us as fans with just that, the power of sports, because sports is bigger than just what happens in 90 minutes. So hopefully the power of sports rewards FC Cincinnati, and I'll be doubling up on my pale ale. Should they win? So you got my word here first.
Awesome. Well, we are very happy to have you as part of CST, and look forward to a lot more hopefully with more matches coming for in this MLS's back tournament, as well as hopefully this fall. We'll keep our fingers crossed and see more football. Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle, you crossed the picket lines from March to Match Day, joined the big show, kicked that evil twin to the side. Give us your final thoughts, pal.
Well, you remember that magic that you felt when FC Cincinnati was playing in the U.S. Open Cup and they made that historic run all the way to the quarterfinals. That's kind of what's going on here. In a way, we're not supposed to be here. No, everybody says we're not supposed to be here, and yet we are. So just enjoy it for what it is, even if it ends early like it did back in the Open Cup when you thought we had New York and Bradley Wright Phillips had another idea. Enjoy it because it was still an amazing match. And this will be a great match versus Portland, and I just appreciate it for what it is, honestly. And then we've been blessed, right? We've had soccer out the wazoo. We had nothing for months, and then NWSL, EPL came back, MLS. Like, every day I turn on the TV and soccer's on. It's been a great last few weeks, and just got to appreciate life for what it throws at you.
I 100% agree there, pal. Love having it all back and appreciate everything. Guys, it's been a heck of a ride, and hopefully we'll keep seeing more matches. Hey, maybe we get to go back to MLS's back tournament number 2 in October. We'll see what happens, but definitely enjoy what you have. Just real quick shout outs. Please rate and review the podcast. I'd love to have I'm going to give away a shirt or potentially a backpack to anybody who rates or reviews the show on Apple or Spotify, wherever they can. So please go and do that. We'll announce the winner via social media. Please check out Coach's Talking Tactics podcast. He has a great show this weekend recapping the win versus New York Red Bulls. Speaks to the Moeller High School soccer coach. So that was a great interview on how they evaluated the match and the tactics and the level of coaching in that match. So that was very exciting to hear. And then, of course, tune in to Brad and Boston's March to Match Day podcast, previewing this week's opponent when we speak to beat writers, kind of like we did tonight, a little bit more extended format, but please go and check that out. So, guys, as we wrap it up here, I don't think we're going to get into to listener questions tonight. We're going a little bit long. So I do appreciate you guys tuning in. And for Michael, for Boston, for Clay, and for Captain Nicholas J. Suberling, you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys tomorrow night on the watch along, 10:25 p.m. on Twitter. And remember, be better to each other. Good night.